Hi everyone, and welcome to the new format here on my YouTube channel. These are going to be Q&As. I get many questions daily, weekly, all about learning, online learning, digital education, technology, the future, blah, blah, blah. And so what we're going to do is grab a question and just answer it freestyle. So here goes. This is our first one. The question I got was from a conversation just a couple of nights ago, where somebody confessed to me that they had spent 13 hours one day on TikTok. And they said, I know it's a lot, but I was learning. Don't you agree? And I said, no. No. So let's unpack that. First of all, though, funny enough, just after the conversation, I was scrolling my Instagram and this came up, which was a post from the Betoota Advocate. So I don't know if you've seen this one, but they're quite a funny satire news clip from Australia. And the headline, they do satire headlines. So primary school teacher forced to adopt curriculum into 1-minute dances. And this satire piece is pretty much explaining the entire, one of the bigger problems we have right now as the real digital natives, the kids that grew up with screens, are becoming learners, and they're not only in primary schools, but they're now in our higher education system. And that there is a growing request for more and more and edutainment. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. So let's have a little read together. So a Betoota Heights primary teacher has resorted to taking drastic measures to capture her students' attention, as short-form content as TikTok and Reels have caused the younger generation to have warped attention spans. With reports that Gen Alpha has both a shorter attention span and is more inclined to learn visually or by experience, it appears the traditional way of teachings need a shake-up. Now, couldn't agree more with the whole shake-up, but not for the reasons that this satire piece is talking about. So, I mean, you can read it at your own time, but pause if you like to. But I really like the comment. Nothing impresses these kids anymore, and I think this highlights that we're in a bit of a crisis when it comes to understanding what real learning is, and understanding how we are going to, keep fighting the good fight, us teachers who understand what real learning is, against these attention-grabbing machines that are very much incentivized just to entertain you. So I did a video a while ago about something that I always got on my soapbox about, which is edutainment. And this is the idea that, as educators, we're supposed to now turn into entertainers, and, everything we do has to be highly engaging and, high production, very intricate, and, pretty much, especially in the online space, there's been a call for, bells and whistles and jumping up and down and lots of silly stuff, really. And this video goes into a lot more about that, about the pressure that's putting on companies to create these assets in order to engage, and what actually it's not translating to real learning outcomes. And the reason is because when we are entertained, we're entertained for a reason. We're entertained because we want to relax, and we're being fed a different, it elicits a different response in us when we're entertained. When we're learning, it's supposed to elicit those deeper cognitive abilities, and it is supposed to be a bit challenging, and it does pull on other parts of us to be able to pay attention, to stay connected, and to bring ourselves to the party. So I've always said that teaching and learning is a 50-50 experience. The learner has to come prepared to put in 50% of the effort, and so does the teacher. So this edutainment stuff really, really connects to this TikTok generation that we're dealing with, this short form Reels, you must entertain me, otherwise I'm not paying attention to you attitude. And so let's go back to our question, which is about learning. Was he learning in 13 hours? Well, no, he wasn't learning in those 13 hours. He was gathering knowledge, in my opinion. He was, gathering bits of information, but was he learning? And I just wanted to bring up a couple of things from this amazing book that, if you're not familiar with, I really suggest you download and take a listen or read. whichever way you absorb your information. But in a minute, you'll know why you should probably do more than just listen or read. But one of the statements that come from that is that no matter what set of your sights on doing and becoming in this world, the mastering the ability to learn is what's going to keep you there. And this is where my biggest fear for the generations that we're dealing with at the moment, who have kind of forgotten that learning is difficult, it should be a little bit difficult, and have, insisted upon, lots and lots of tailoring, lots of, some of this edutainment stuff, and also been so used to being told stuff, by someone jumping around in a funky outfit, and don't have the patience for just a really grounded delivery of instruction, which is sometimes what's needed. So if you go into, you can read the book, but there's also a really great video, which I'm going to put a link in the description about, and it just does a summary. So I just grabbed a couple of screenshots from there, and they talk about 3 ways of how you actually learn. And the first one is self-quizzing, because we forget a lot. So for our TikTok users out there, whatever you watched in hour 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you've forgotten, right? Like 70% of what you absorb, what you've taken in as information, you forget. So unless, and this is what I said to him in the moment, I said, look, unless you took some of that information, you had a discussion with somebody in your house or a partner or a friend about what you were reading, and you applied it to what you were watching, and you applied it to a certain particular a circumstance or person. If you said, oh, well, that's actually really great because the other day this happened, and maybe if I'd done that, and if you talked it out with somebody, some of this information, you would have got retention. But if you're passively sitting in your room scrolling, you're just taking in information, and most of it is just going straight out the other ear. So of course, this is why we do quizzes in an online learning and in real life. They seem a bit boring, but at the same time they work, and they are proven to work, because retrieving information very quickly from learning it and then applying it and retrieving it again is definitely the way that we kind of keep that in cement it. The second one is interleaving, and if anyone's done any language learning or used Duolingo, you'll know that this is what Duolingo is made from. The basis is what it's made from, is this idea of interleaving, and that is not learning things in isolation and to keep applying it. So you master all the different skills simultaneously, so you don't just say, I'm learning the numbers today. So I'm day 95 of my streak in Duolingo learning Bahasa, and I haven't learned the numbers yet. I have learned the number 20, I think. Well, see, I've forgotten now because I can't even tell you. But I know 20's come up and 10's come up, but they haven't just said, here's the numbers 1 to 10. They are interleaving all of those words in context with other words that I've learned. And so I've only learnt 3 colours. I've only learnt 2 numbers, but I'm on day 95 of my learning journey, and I can understand and hear some of those words when I listen to people speak Bahasa. So it is this idea of mixing things up and not isolating the learning. So again, if you're just sitting on TikTok, maybe the same reels pop up again and again and again for you over those 13 hours. So maybe there's a little bit of repetition, but again, you're not applying it. So you're not doing anything to apply that knowledge, right? And the third one is the spacing, right? And so this is about, this is again what Duolingo is based on, is the constant daily streaks and looking at things every day, not the big chunks of information at one time. And one of the quotes from the book is that learning that is easy is like writing in the sand, right? It disappears. And I have said this for so many years. If it is not hard and a little bit challenging, you're not learning, okay? That doesn't mean we need to push people out of their zone of proximal development. We need to keep them there. And for those teachers watching, the ZPD, that still stands. Get them there. If you push them too hard, yes, of course, they're going to overwhelm and cognitive overload is going to kick in. But this idea that reels and, information that coming that way is learning is not correct. So here's a link to the video. You can go and have a watch. But I think the other thing I will say about the whole TikTok reel learning is that we need to remember that learning comes in 3 main forms. So knowledge, skills, and attitudes and attributes. Now, if you're just taking in information passively, You're just taking in knowledge. There is no skill building in watching reels. And there could be some attitudes forming from what you're watching, but this is where it gets tricky. And I said to the people in the conversation, I said, but you do realize that TikTok's only going to show you things that you already kind of know, believe in, or are interested in, right? Like, you're only going to get what they want you to like, click, and watch. So unless, again, you're in a conversation with people who think the opposite of what you're being told, you are just getting filtered and being told that you're not learning anything. You're just being told and reaffirmed your entire bias. And this is the problem with social media, and that's a whole other video. But I also said to them, I said, hey, like, who's got the right to teach? What do you mean you're learning? I mean, who are you learning from? And what are their motivations? And are you asking these questions when you're, giving them the lovely like and following them? And these are the questions that we all need to be asking at all times. Who is telling you the information? Where is it coming from? And why are they incentivized to teach it to you? What are they trying to gain, right? And on those platforms, they're just trying to gain attention, really, and attention for other reasons, to monetize something else. And so we have to really look at motivations, okay? And I expect you to be doing the same for me when you're on this channel. What are my motivations? What do you think I'm doing this all for? Look me up, see if I'm legit. Do I have the credentials to speak to you about learning? And, that's really important, because we can learn a lot from each other. Social learning is a real thing. And I don't believe in curating who can teach what and who's got authority. And I think we've done a bad job of that in the past, where we've said only these people know things, so listen to them. But there is something to be said for, hey, who you're listening to. So, love to hear your thoughts on this whole TikTok, reel, attention span, learning, what isn't learning. Drop your comments below. Really like to continue the conversation, and hey, drop a question and I can use it for one of my next videos. So lovely to see you. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay awesome.